During many, many years, I lied, I abused, I was aggressive, I took advantage. Hurting, no? Hurting during all those years. And today I can see I didn't want to do it because I was a bad person, but because I was afraid of needing love. And I want to ask you, what happened to people like me that choose not be in their past and they choose to live from a more loving place in the present?
You know what you're talking about? Everyone does that to a point. So you're no different to anyone else. You've made a decision to change. So why do we lie? Because we're afraid of not getting approval. So basically everything we do comes from a place of not deserving. And so what is not deserving? Not loving yourself. And everyone does it. We're all looking for approval. We lie because we don't want people getting upset. We've got all of these behaviours which basically say, I don't deserve. I have to compromise because your happiness or your love is more important than mine. And as we mature, we start to become responsible. We start to put limits on ourselves and externally. We stop choosing things, habits that make us suffer, be it in our external behaviour or our internal consumption. It could be food. It could be anything toxic that we're doing externally. We start to change. And it's called maturity, taking responsibility. And all humans have to go through that process. And normally people that are really sensitive are even more addicted to destructive behaviours because they're not coping. So once you start to create consciousness and you start to find internal security, you speak your truth. You know, you start doing destructive things. You know, if I look back at my life, the things I did because I didn't love myself was shocking. I put everyone before me. Really. Always. And I abandoned myself everywhere. You know, and we try to escape that, no? We overdrink. We do all sorts of things to stop our minds. The torture of the mind. Where does it come from? Not loving ourselves. So people like you are everywhere. People are like you. Maybe you conceive yourself as a bit more extreme. But it doesn't matter. Now you've decided to change. But you've decided to change for you. And that's empowering. And that empowers everyone when you change. So be happy with yourself. That's it.
And there is always someone that is asking about love consciousness. And really, I'm not very clear. I don't know if it's that I'm trying to understand or I should feel it.
Love consciousness is an experience
es una experiencia
that's in us.
que está dentro de cada
And
uno.
that is why you've come here,
Y para eso viniste aquí,
to expand that,
a expandir eso,
to reconnect with
a
that,
reconectarte con eso.
and then you become the actions of that.
Transformar a las acciones.
Love consciousness is unconditional.
Es incondicional.
Love consciousness flows. Love consciousness is vulnerable.
Conciencia vulnerable.
Love consciousness is secure within itself.
Seguro en sí.
It speaks its truth.
Su verdad.
Love consciousness
Conciencia.
looks for what enhances love consciousness,
Va a aumentar, a expandir más.
not what negates it.
No lo que va a negarlo.
It is the actions of love,
Las acciones de la
but it comes from the source,
pero viene desde la fuente,
not from the head.
no desde la cabeza.
And you are that
Tú
source.
eres esa fuente.
That source is in you.
Esa fuente está dentro tuyo.
It's in everything.
Y está en todo.
But firstly, you have to
Primero,
discover it internally
descubrirlo interno
and stabilize
y
it.
estabilizarlo.
So you're experiencing it all the time.
Vas a estar experimentándolo todo el tiempo.
Mm. We don't learn anything here.
En realidad aquí no aprendemos nada.
We don't learn anything.
No aprendemos
We just let go of everything that's not real
decir todo aquello que no sea real
and it emerges
y va emergiendo.
because it's always been there.
Porque siempre ha estado en ti.
Always.
Siempre ha estado en ti. Happens that very often I feel annoyed by things that some people do, and that feeling I have within I don't like. I don't like to feel rejection from other people. Can you tell me how to move through? What to do with that?
You know, the thing is, we have expectations of how people should be, what they should do, what's appropriate. But humans are not appropriate. They're destructive, they're rude, they're chaotic, they're loving, they're hateful, they're honest, they're liars, they're completely dual. And we have to get to a point where we perceive through the eyes of love. It is what it is. Because that's how the illusion is. The only thing important is how you're being, your response. That's the only thing important. Because it's the only thing that you can control. It's your choice. And also, we have compassion because you don't know people's circumstances. You get to the point where you're just like that. And then you flow. Just flow. You know, it shouldn't affect you. And you'll get to a point where it won't. And people that are very correct and always do things properly and are considerate and loving and spiritual, they're the most affected for the bad behavior of other people. And you have to also see this place of superiority, no? Like, oh, how common. How common. Oh my God. Oh, cover your mouth when you cough. You're eating with your mouth full. You know, you threw rubbish out the window. When I first came to South America, you know, Australia is so perfect, no? You know, we've got so many laws and so many fines that no one does anything wrong. And when I first came to Latin America, I was like, I couldn't believe anything. But look at it. Look how exciting Latin America is. The colour, the chaos, the beauty, the rhythm. Australia's so boring. Really. But it's very clean. Sure. You know, when you were a child, you lived in pure consciousness, but you weren't mature. You hadn't had a human experience. You were just like a glass window, crystalline, looking externally, not understanding anything, but you had this pure experience. You lived in the moment, you felt your feelings. Your consciousness is your consciousness. And then we put everything on top of it. All our stress, all our shoulds and shouldn'ts, all our belief systems, our ideas of how we should be, what we should do, to the point we can't even find our consciousness. But it's there. It just needs space. So as you start doing the facets are reality of unity. That's why they don't make any sense to the intellect. But vibrationally, they're pulling your energy up. And all that stuff that leaves, your stress, your emotions, your traumas, your ideas, you don't need them anymore. And as you become emptier and emptier, you start to expand. Now this will expand and contract, and then it will stabilize. And you'll experience it all the time. And that's the objective of the 6 months, that you are experiencing consciousness all the time. And if you keep focusing on it, it keeps growing. And it never goes backwards. You know, the thing is, before we start being in the present moment, focusing on consciousness, we don't realize how dense we were, because we never stopped. We never left our heads long enough as ourselves. We're always running away from ourselves, consuming, looking for happiness, excitement, busy, 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 busy. So when we start, we're here, no? And all of a sudden, we start to know ourselves. And it's surprising on many levels. Firstly, we have no concept of the level of fear we have. Secondly, we have no concept of how much we abandon ourselves for external love. We have no concept of how we think and how we blindly believe in ideas that have nothing to do with reality, or more, ourselves. We start to know self. And the minute that happens, we start to transform. Because we see, oh, that doesn't serve. That doesn't bring me love. That doesn't bring me peace. That doesn't make my body feel good. You know, and we just start to change from consciousness. So not only do we experience consciousness, we become conscious of our human experience and what serves and what doesn't. Because ultimately the focus is to become unconditional love. That's it. It's simple. It's your nature to be unconditionally loving with yourself and with creation. It's your nature.
So I'm surprised that level of attachment, irrational, that I was open to. And now I'm horrified from attachment, to attachment. I don't want any of that. Can you talk to me about it?
Sure. You know, that's your security. It's not about the content. That's what made you feel safe. You've been with him for 40 years. Irrespective of how he was or what he did, his presence was your security, your love. And letting go of that is very, very difficult because you had to take responsibility for you. And on some level, intellectually, it doesn't make sense because you were looking after him for a long time. But that was your internal security. It's like losing a parent that's very containing, that nurtures you, that holds you, that loves you unconditionally. It's very hard to let that go. And now you can see that. And yes, you look at it, and it was crazy, no? Because it didn't serve anyone. But it's called attachment. And attachment is not rational. Now, you need to be attached to your consciousness, to you loving you. And be very clear about that. Because I can see you're starting to fish externally. And it's time for you to really make a new choice. Because once you have that unconditional love, and the loss of your husband is a reflection of that. It's time for you to take responsibility for yourself. That's why you're here. So yes, don't get new attachments. They're going to be very fragile and they will break like that because time has come for you to love you. It's clear. And you know this. Or no? Yes.
I don't have much expectation, but yes, I want I want to remember really who am I.
Well, that internal experience is who you are. And you have lots of those experiences. And it's so great because you've stopped judging yourself and your family's reflecting that. And that's a fabulous thing, that you're being more loving with you, opening to receive, and you'll start to live in that space all the time. Yeah, so just trust in that. There's no mistakes. You open to receive and it comes. You know, always when we let go of something, more comes, more comes. As we expand our consciousness, the universe supports us 100%. And that's indicative of our own expansion. If we make space, the love comes. And more love and more love. When we let go of that which doesn't serve, that which is toxic, that which is pulling us down, we receive more love. It always starts with love of self. And everything reflects, it reflects, it reflects, it reflects. It's very clear. So good.
My sister, because I feel so much pain that she doesn't talk to me, and not her husband and her children.
You have to let all of this go. But from a place of innocence. Because you're torturing yourself. Like you did something bad. And you want to catch the past. But you can't. The past is like the wind. You can't grab it. So you just need to let go of everything and then see what happens. Because you can't change other people. But you have to let go. Where you love unconditionally, irrespective of the response. And be open. Open to change. You don't know what will happen in the future. But in this moment, you change. And it's great. It's good that you feel all of this. And stop judging yourself. Yes? Good.
Come visit our webpage for books, movies, and our wonderful retreat centers. Isha's simple yet powerful system is transforming lives around the world.